Hey guys, welcome to Approach the Nerd. It is me, Maria Park, your current guide through everything Kung Fu. Ignore this light. This light has been doing this all day, so I'm probably going to end up having a dark light today because I'm tired of hitting this thing. Um, so yeah, the show, the show. Disclaimer. I know I am in a marriage with a Korean American. I do know that I have a half Chinese, half Vietnamese, and then everything I am daughter. But I am going to butcher some names because I am an equal opportunist butcher of names. So don't take it personally. I butcher everyone's names, basically globally. So let's start off with the premise of the show. So we have a young girl named Nikki Shen she starts narrating her life. She's like, oh, my mother suggested that I go on this cultural tour, the Yunnan province in China, to learn more about my Chinese roots. But in retrospect, she was actually sending her daughter there to have a match made in China. And she walks in and there's like all these like name tags and all these guys and they're like smiling at her. And then she like freaks out and she runs away and she hides in like the truck bed of this woman's truck named Pei-Ling Zhang. And she's basically the Sifu over this all female like Shaolin temple. And when you first see it, it's really cool. It's like really badass. You see all these women like sparring with each other. Like you see a woman standing there like breaking sticks over her. It's awesome. It's everything you would see in a Chinese Kung Fu movie. So I was not hating on that. So basically, Nikki was going to stay one night and ends up staying 3 years. And the Pei-Ling becomes her master or her Sifu. So disclaimer, she was going to law school at Harvard. At the time she had a boyfriend. And yes, she had a boyfriend and her mother still sent her to China to hook her up with a good Chinese man. So yeah, that pretty much aided in her decision to stay for 3 years at this, all female Shaolin, monastery or temple. And she got pretty good at Kung Fu in those 3 years. Some would say maybe she's even a prodigy. I don't know, but she is pretty good in those 3 years. Well, Pei-Ling, her Sifu, tells her that she has to go home and deal with her family drama, basically. You have to go and deal with family drama because you can't run away from it and don't have regrets like me. And Pei-Ling's like, you don't know who I was before this, which I think is a spoiler for what ends up happening in the series. She's like, you would not have recognized the person I was before this. So I was like, oh, okay, that's a little interesting. But yeah, so she's trying to think that, she's like, you can basically forge your own path. Nobody's can tell you what to do, basically. But if I were you, I would go back home and deal with my drama. But Nikki initially is like, oh, my, peace or, and my family don't really go together or whatever. And so she was not wanting to go back home. And home for her is San Francisco, which I think is interesting because if you look at Netflix, there's a show called Wu Warriors, which is also set in San Francisco. And I feel like almost every Chinese or Asian American, like martial arts type drama is either in LA or in San Francisco. I do not know why. I guess San Fran has really good rates when you're filming there, even though they're shooting in Vancouver, or maybe because I will say San Fran has one of the largest Chinatowns I've personally ever been to. So that could be it too. But yeah, it's set in not Chinatown, but in actual San Francisco. So pretty cool. So basically they get attacked. The monastery gets attacked. And there is a woman and her name is Zilan. Or Zhilan. I'm calling her Zhilong. Zilan. If you speak Chinese of any variety or form, let me know. Again, my daughter is part Chinese, but I have no idea how to pronounce anything. I can't even pronounce my own freaking name. So, but she comes there and she starts fighting with Pei-Ling. And Pei-Ling basically is trying to defend this sword. And long story short, basically Zhilan gets the sword and then ends up stabbing, the Sifu, Nikki's Sifu, and Nikki sees it. And so she goes after her, then they start sparring. And she gets, stabbed in the shoulder. The sword, when she picks the sword up, because she gets it from Jilan at one point, it burns her hand. So it makes like a pattern on her hand that's very interesting. And then Jilan like kicks her off the side of a cliff, but she doesn't die. She ends up hanging onto the side of the cliff. So she's not dead. And then so she starts trying to hunt down the Jilan lady who basically killed her, Pei-Ling, her master, her Sifu. And she can't find her. So then she decides to head back home. And when she heads back home, that's when the real drama starts, because first of all, she has an older sister named Althea, who I swear to you guys, if you watch Batwoman, it would be like if Mary and Luke got together and had a love child. That is Althea. She sounds and acts like Mary, but she's got the brains and the the hacking technical know-how of Luke. So Althea is literally Mary and Luke's baby. But she apparently got engaged with her high school, like the high school math nerd or whatever of their school, who actually turns out to be very hot. And so when Nikki comes in, they're actually about to do like this like banquet or wedding banquet where they're about to decide then like date of the wedding, basically. And so the first person she runs into is her father, Jin, and he runs a dumpling shop. I think it's called Happy Dumpling. I'll have to go back and look again. Very sweet. Father's extremely sweet. And of course, she sees the sister. Then her brother, Ryan, comes in. And Ryan reminds me so much of, I think his name is Harry Shum, who played Malik in Shadow Hunters. I don't know what it is, but he just reminds me of him. And the fact that that character was gay and Ryan's character is gay. We got our LGBT representation, which is so interesting in an Asian family, because I've been married into 2 different Asian families and I know just how taboo and hush hush that really is. So yeah, I really thought that was cool. So I got my own little Malik running around through Ryan. And he's a doctor, I believe. Yeah, he's a doctor. Thea is trying to do like some kind of startup with, I don't know, either an internet startup or like a software startup or something like that. So very, very good computers. But Ryan is very, very, very upset with Nikki because Nikki left. Nikki did not come home for 3 years. And he kind of felt like, that was his, ride or die, basically. I just thought that was interesting because when... I guess I can kind of see it. She was kind of like the ally. He basically came out to the parents, which is kind of like a subplot, which I thought was interesting. They included that in there, but that's kind of the CW formula. He came out to the parents. I believe it was like a year before she came home or 2 years before she came home. I'll have to look at that again. And that's why he was so upset that his sister wasn't there for him. And I don't know if he's older or a year younger. I'll have to go back and look. I don't know if they've ever revealed his age, but I know that Althea is oldest. But yeah, so he's not happy she's back. And then the mother does something that's completely, off canter, but I've actually seen happen within an Asian family dynamic. It's not a stereotype. I'm not saying every family does this. But the moment she said, Jin's like, her dad's like, oh, Nikki's home. And the mother's like, my daughter died 3 years ago. I was like, oh, Lord. So the drama just really started again for Nikki when she got home. So she survived the attack, the death of her Sifu, and now she's back home dealing with all the drama she ran away from to begin with. So yeah, she doesn't feel welcome in the house, and so the father's like, no, just walk around Chinatown and come to the restaurant, and I'll talk to your mother. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so to me personally, that seems so realistic that it has to be that way. But yeah, she was pretty much, and her mother's name is Mei Li, or I think it's Mei Li, and she just pretty much disowned her child. So I'm like, okay. Well, while she's out, and she kind of does like the round, she goes and sees her ex-boyfriend, Evan, who she literally broke up, I guess, via a text message when she decided to stay in China, which is kind of a, that's a dick move. But she goes to see him and explain herself. And then she like wants to ask Evan about, helping her, because he's an assistant DA now, helping her try and find the person that killed her Sifu. And then, of course, he has a new girlfriend. So I already thought, okay, so we're going to have that drama in this series. So like I go, the boyfriend you dumped 3 years ago to find yourself, which you now admit was probably the wrong move, has moved on, and what did you expect? It's 3 years, but has moved on. But he does agree to help try and find, the person that, killed her master. Well, outside of that, we're also dealing with a new syndicate of the Triad, or I don't think they're Triad. It's basically a lot of the businesses in Chinatown and in San Fran, like her father's specifically, or her parents' restaurant. They're basically being, I guess, kind of like, let's just face it, they have to take out loans to pay rent that keeps going up. And then they're basically being put into debt with very bad people. And one of the guys, I'm trying to think if I wrote his name down, because he's not, to me, he really wasn't that important. I'm gonna be real with you, even though I probably should know his name. So, but he was like basically the guy that's swindling people. Like, for instance, they find out in the series that Nikki's mother had to get a loan to help pay for the rise in rent. And she went to this guy because he kept coming to the restaurant and he seemed so good and he was always bringing them business. And she borrowed $50,000 from him. Well, turns out that $50,000 went to $100,000 extremely quickly. I'm still looking for his name, but and then he, basically threatened the father, and the father never told the mother. So basically, Nikki's mother and father were not communicating with each other. Like, the mother didn't communicate that she took out the loan, and the father didn't communicate that he knew she took out the loan and that he tried to deal with it himself. So they were trying to protect each other. And when Nikki went to go meet her dad after leaving Evan's place, kind of dejected, she basically sees two men roughing him up, and he ends up in the hospital. And it's because of this group of people that want their money. And so she's dealing with that too. She's dealing with a lot of stuff. I really love this pilot. I kind of wish it was longer. I want to say it was a 2-hour premiere. No, it's an hour premiere. But for me, because I DVR'd it first, I really wish it had been longer, because she was dealing with so much stuff in this pilot that I felt like a little bit of it was rushed. But I'll get to that in a second. So she ends up, going to make amends with her brother, who is at this Asian community center. I'm not sure if he's being paid as a doctor in this clinic or if he's volunteering his time. I'm not sure. But, she plays ping pong with him and he beats her butt and they make amends, and hug it out. And so he kind of lets go of his stuff, because Ryan was actually very hurt that she was the support system for him. And I think I want to say he's a medical student. I don't even know if he has his full license. So this may be like a residency. But anyway, through her brother, though, she meets a guy named Henry, who I think is the other person in the now established love triangle that we know was going to happen, because it's the CW formula between her, Evan, and Henry. And Henry is Chinese. And I think he's a Chinese, history major, or like he studies a lot of Chinese cultural history. And so I thought that was great, because they needed somebody to explain like what the heck was happening with the sword, why it burned her hand, like all of that. And this guy was kind of the person to go to. And so he does, like, he immediately takes a liking to her, because he's like, talk about the temple, and I teach Tai Chi. That's great. And it went from that to her basically just confiding all the stuff that she hadn't even told her family yet. And so she showed him her hand, and he's like, oh, that looks like, they were talking about the sword. She described the sword that burned it. And he's like, that sounds like the sword of Angdayu. And it's like, what? He's like, oh yeah, this ancient sword that was created a long time ago. And this woman named Dayu, who basically, used the sword, and only the person that it's meant for can use the sword. And it gives the wielder all of this power. So she was able to not only take out all of these armies coming to attack them, but train all the women to do it too. It is like this whole like really cool backstory. And as he kept going on, there was more like research that he did, and he found out that there are actually 8 weapons. There's 8 weapons that were enchanted by an ancient Chinese sorcerer, and her, basically the rival that we now know is a rival, which is, what did I say her name is? I gotta say her name correctly. I'm sorry, guys, because I like to butcher names. I'm sorry. Jalan. She's just creepy. She has the first sword, And now we know she's going after the other 7 because in her loft, apartment, whatever, she's got like this like room that it's so reminiscent of Smallville's Green Arrow's room, where he had like this secret compartment where he would hang out all his different bows. That's what it looked like to me. It almost looked like they used that same set. And she has the sword that she already got basically from Pei Ling hanging in that little weapons closet. So now we know she's going after the other swords. But the only other thing that I thought was cool, like Nikki basically has become like a little vigilante. It was, I'm gonna be real. I know Greg Berlanti did this. It has a lot of Arrowverse feels. It really does. Her going around kicking butt is reminiscent to almost literally every non-powered hero in the Arrowverse, from Arrow to technically she has powers, but before Anissa actually started really understanding her powers, how she was going around and just beating people's butts. That's pretty much what Nikki is doing. She's going around taking around the entire Triad, to try and stop them from basically hurting their community. So she's taking up the community, she's protecting her family, and she's just kicking a lot of A. And the fight scenes in this, some of them are very good. I didn't understand though, the very first monastery fight where they were getting attacked. Like when you first saw Nikki go to the monastery, these women were badass when they were sparring, but it seemed like these men came and they were just like beating some of them down like they were nothing. And I'm like, they were training for years. Like, I mean, Nikki's walking around just kicking butt, and you see her like helping some of the other girls who have probably been there longer than her. So I was like, okay, that's a little weird, but I let it go. But yeah, for the most part, her and Tai Chi Henry's scene in Chinatown when they were trying to get information on the guy that I still haven't gotten the name for, which I need to, when they were trying to get people to just say, hey, this person's been, swindling us, trying to, take money from us and hurting us in the community. That little fight outside the woman's shop was cool. I mean, especially since, again, Henry is a Tai Chi master. So we got the Tai Chi master and the Kung Fu girl. And I think that's cool. And looking at her train in the monastery, does she not look like Mulan? I'm like, I was getting Mulan vibes for like the entire time she was like training. Yeah, this is a very good show. So if you have not like caught on from my tone, I really, really enjoyed this pilot episode. Was it a little rushed? Yes, but that's what the CW does. They don't give them a lot of time. So some of these things could have been expanded a little bit or stretched out a little bit, but I don't think it really hurt anything. I honestly really, really enjoyed like the whole family dynamic, the whole, her trying to find herself, and then the repercussions of her leaving for 3 years. All of that stuff was actually seamlessly intertwined in this pilot. So I don't have a problem with that. It wasn't unrealistic. It wasn't like when you see some shows where they do something and they come back and like 5 minutes later, everybody's like, oh yeah, we cool. No, it wasn't, it wasn't like that. So, but yeah, it just makes me now wonder what happens when all 8 of these, really powerful weapons are together. Like, do they form something? Does something happen? Is it the end of the world? I mean, I know as the person becomes all powerful, but then what? Like in Wu Warriors, if you ever watch the show again on Netflix, I mean, there are rules. If something happened and they got across some barrier or whatever, it caused the end of the world. What happens in this series when Xiaolan or whoever gets all of the weapons? And then what does each weapon do? And to add on to that is the reason that Nikki's hand was burned because she's actually the reincarnation or the next one in line to wield the sword. I mean, it's a lot. There is a lot. But, I really, really, really enjoyed the show. So because I liked it, I guess I am going to keep reviewing it. And hopefully I was trying to see if there was an actual like legend about, 8 swords. I know there's a movie called The Seven Swordsmen, and they all had swords that did different things. But I mean, I don't know enough about, pretty much anything about Chinese mythology. So I would have to go back and just really research it. But maybe by the end of this season, I will know a lot more, because I really would love to know what this is based on. Is it completely made up? Or is this based on something in mythology or something in Chinese history? I would really love to know, because the idea of an ancient Chinese sorcerer is pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool. I mean, I looked at him as pretty much an elder Chinese Merlin, and I really would love to know why he was inspired to make these weapons. If you've ever seen I think it started off as a comic, and then they did a movie, and it also was a game called Storm Riders, or the Storm Riders. And they have the two of the characters are Wind and Cloud. It kind of reminds me of that, but modern. This does not remind me of the original Kung Fu at all. For first, we don't have a white man pretending to be half Asian running around. If there's any similarities between it, yes, he traveled around to try and help people, blah, blah, blah. And she's traveling around her own community searching for a killer. So there's a lot of traveling. But other than that, there really is no connection between Kung Fu and this show. Or the sequel. I think there was a sequel where he had like a grown son or something who was like a cop or something that he used to run around. So I don't know. I have to go back and see that. Maybe it's closer to that, but no. I think this is more like Wu Warriors, kind of meets elements of it has supernatural elements. So like, I don't want to say Nancy Drew, because Nancy Drew actually is very annoying to me right now. So, and I like this show. I mean, I'm just trying to throw out like Buffy type elements where, you're probably going to have the challenge of the week, or, in this case, trying to find a weapon of the week. I mean, 8 weapons. You have to find a killer. You have to find 8 weapons, and you have to keep your community safe from the Triad. I mean, it's just a lot going on in this woman's world. So I'm hooked on it. I did not think I was going to get hooked. I thought it was cool from the trailer. I didn't think I was going to get hooked on the show. And now I'm already like, what's going to happen next week? I'm already like excited about it. And there's going to be love drama, because there's no reason to show Evan. He looks like he still has feelings for her. She even got him in the series to agree to help take down the guy's name that I forgot. Because again, he was not important to me. The SOB who basically had her dad beat up is not important to me, because I don't think he's going to be instrumental in the plot. Now, if he comes back again next week, that's fine. But as far as I'm concerned, that moment when they were fighting on the roof, because she fights him on the roof, and she literally, she kind of launched off the ground, which is why I'm thinking that she's the chosen one, and knocks him the heck out. I kind of feel like that was the last we're going to see of this guy. But if he shows up again, I will make an effort to remember his name. It's just not happening right now. I'm just not. But yeah, I mean, overall, I really did like the show. So do I recommend watching it? Heck yeah. And then plus, I've never seen a series that had such, I feel like outside of Evan, the entire cast is Asian. That's never happened. No, that's never happened. So yeah, I'm actually excited about that. This is definitely redemption as far as I'm concerned for the original Kung Fu. So the main actress is from Legacies. Yeah, I saw that. Olivia. Her name just went out of my head. But yeah, I remember her from I remember what season. Was she in it from the beginning? I thought she was in season 2. It's been a minute. Great first episode, already hooked. I loved the pilot. Yes, I loved the pilot. Harris Phoenix, what did I miss? At 4:35 p.m., you missed nothing, because this stream didn't start until 5:04. Yito, I'm not sure if you're still in here, but I forgot the show was a thing. I missed the first episode. Oh, well, I mean, it's on CW. You can actually DVR it, so it is there. But I mean, there's just so many questions, that I have. And I like how, I'm trying to see if I have the pictures, but I like how the characters look. Let me do this. Share screen. Let's see if it'll let me. Maybe. It will. All right, so let me go and show the pictures of the characters. So that's Nikki, which I love this dress, by the way. Love that dress. Let's see. This is the entire Shin family. I don't want to add anything. I want to zoom. All right. Well, okay. So this is going to be Althea's fiance, soon to be husband. This is Ryan. Tell me he doesn't give you Malik vibe, or Merrick, like Malik. He does. Team Malik is Alec and Mob from Shadowhunter. I really, 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 really like this character. There's Sweet Daddy Jin, and then of course that's Nikki. And then the person you don't see is Mama. She's because at this point she's telling her she's like pretty much disowned. Let's see if I have a picture of Mommy. I do. There's Mommy right there. Of course, Althea again. I like her dress too. And then Daddy. And our nemesis is right here. And she looks completely Chinese. Somebody, like when we were talking about it, I was talking about it with someone. Somebody said that she looked like she was Eurasian, so like half European, half Asian, which she could be. I don't know. But she's very interesting. I don't think I have other pictures. Yeah, that's the family again. So yeah, I really am like digging it. And I don't know if I shared that correctly. Did you guys see that? Probably not. My computer's being weird. All right, so recap. There's Nikki. And there's the nemesis. Yeah, I won't try and say her name again. We're going to call her Lady Z. Which I really am digging that belt, though. I know I'm not looking at fashion, but there's the sword that burns Nikki's hand, which I thought was pretty cool, actually. The design on the sword was really cool. It looks like something out of a video game. At least I thought so anyway. Then the family. Okay, so I'll go back. So we have Ryan, the brother. This is Althea, the older sister. Of course, there's Nikki. There's Jin, the dad. And then this is Althea's fiance / future husband. So cool. And then there is Mama and Althea. I love their outfits. Like, look at this dress. It's so pretty. So yeah, I am really into this show. Completely. Really into this show. I really wonder, like, I don't know if we've got all the characters yet, because I don't know if they've actually gone on, because I have not been following this, guys. I really haven't. I have not been following who got cast in this outside of the main cast. So I don't know who else is going to become, allies, because we might have a Team Nikki, like we have an Arrowverse, because again, this Greg Berlanti is doing this. So it's going to have a comic booky feel. But I just wonder if we're going to have other badass chosen, one like kind of warrior type. I don't know if they'd be monks or if they'd be, come from a Shaolin temple, but somebody destined for each one of those weapons. And then they just give it to Nikki, or if Nikki's actually the chosen one for all 8 of the weapons. That would be really interesting. But I did read when I was researching that this is not going to be connected to the Arrowverse, which is a shame, because I kind of feel like it should be. They should reinvent this as a superhero show, because it kind of reminds me of that. So I don't know, though. I don't know. I think this is definitely, it has potential to be a Arrowverse series, and it's done by an Arrowverse producer. So I don't know. I hope Kung Fu keeps up the great stunt work. They did have really good stunt actors. Like when we were talking about the whole fight scene with her, Henry, and the guys on the street that were basically pulling a knife on her sister, brother, and Henry, and him using the Tai Chi and her using Kung Fu on them was pretty cool. I loved Ryan's reaction to seeing his sister in action. That was really cool. He was like, whoa. So I thought that was like, she's like, what did you think I was doing for 3 years? Like, I knew you were taking Kung Fu, but I mean, in his mind, he probably thought it was Tai Chi. But I do agree with you. The stunt coordination, the fight scenes were really good. The only problem, and I said this before, not really problem, my only nitpick is how badass they made the women in the temple before, but then when they got attacked, like they were going down really quickly. Like it was like Nikki was walking around just beating everybody's butt, and they were kind of like, help me! Like in the background you saw them fight, but like all the ones that were near her when she was walking, from room to room or past room to room, she was helping them. I was like, this woman, they've probably been there longer than you. Why aren't they doing better? I'm like, so outside of that though, I mean, it's just a small nitpick, but the fight choreography was really good. And I think it's going to be a lot better because remember, this is just the pilot episode. So they have time now to really flesh it out. So I'm excited about it. I'm multitasking. I have to rewatch your stream for your opinion on the first episode, but it sounds like you enjoyed the pilot. I enjoyed it immensely. Yes, I really did. I've wanted Charm to do stunt work like that. This show, they don't have the budget for the powers, and I'm like, CW can do it. So why isn't the show doing that? Mel lost her fighting skills in season. I know, girl. Well, maybe because she's pregnant now, they're not trying. I don't know. Her actress in real life, and that's why Mel can't do it. I don't know. It'd be cool to see other styles like Kali or Muay Thai. Oh yeah, that's what I'm wondering though. Do you know how cool it would be if all 8 of those weapons had a chosen one? So Nikki could be the chosen one for the sword, which is why she has that pattern. And it almost seems like a map, like the sword burned a map in her hand. And so, which would be interesting. But I mean, I just think it's a good way of bringing in more team members. If, kind of like if you ever watch things like Kamen Rider, how they all like are chosen ones. Like I'm watching Kamen Rider Saber, and like you have ones that represent like different elements, and you got a blue lion, you got a red dragon. It's all storybook themed. It's really cool. I really think it would be really amazing to have different warriors, and then something happens and they all have to come together, and then maybe Nikki's the chosen one to hold all the weapons so that they don't get into the wrong hands. I don't know. I think it'd be kind of cool. The pilot had 1.4 million viewers, so let's hope for a season 2 already. Love the pilot. I think it could become one of my favorite CW TV shows. Sorry for the bad English. I'm French. You have amazing English, so only apologize when it's bad. And I absolutely agree with you 100%. And then you don't have to apologize if it's bad too. I just realized how that sounded. Do not apologize for communicating. I know nothing in French, so I'd be more of an embarrassment, to myself speaking to you than you are right now. And your English is fine. But I really hope it gets another season. It might though. I think what's going on, especially in the US now with all of the like anti-Asian, like hate. I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand this country that I live in. I really don't. There's a lot of hate out there, and like I know who caused this. I know, but the anger and the ignorance had to already have been there. But yeah, we all know who was the pillar of all of this ignorance, and his name starts with a T and ends in a P. And his followers and people that bought into this garbage with China starting, creating, and bringing COVID to this country, and now taking it out on even elderly Asians in this country makes me effing disgusted. And if I see it, I guess I'm just going to end up on the news. So I'll probably go to jail because I will fight. I'm just letting you know. We will throw down. You're right. People want a scapegoat. And unfortunately, it's very easy in this country to to find one. I mean, it's effing ridiculous. So I have a lot of feelings. Like as a half Black woman who's married to an Asian American whose daughter is part Black and part European and part Asian, and also LGBT. That's what I am, and that's what my daughter is. So I'm kind of like, I'm in a lot of activist battles with a lot of ignorant people, and it is exhausting. It's exhausting. I'm waiting for the reviews on this wonderful show that is not trying to force feed anything on anybody. Yes, Ryan's character is gay, but I guarantee you're going to see other people review this. If they do review it, and they'll say things like, oh, it's an agenda. Oh, another woke CW show, because that is what happens. I don't know why. It's just what happens. People act like if you really speak about what's actually in the world around you, that you have an agenda. Unfortunately, for some people, gay people exist. So do Asian people, so do Black people, so do Hispanic people, so do people of all cultures. They exist in this world. There are people who are transgender. There are people that are non-binary. And you know what you do? You live your life and you don't worry about it. You don't sit here and get angry and review beautiful shows like this and give them really bad, ratings because you feel there's an agenda and somehow this affects you personally. And it drives me nuts. So that's why whenever I do these reviews, if I start getting on this little soapbox, because I'm telling you guys, this is going to get this treatment because of course it is. It is almost a predominantly Asian cast and they have a gay character. So that's all right. 2 strikes. Just put it out there. So don't be surprised if you get people saying this is woke And my normal rebuttal for that is, if you don't want to see things that are woke, then keep your ass asleep, because you can't talk when you're sleeping. Then shut your mouth. I mean, there's no point in ranting if you're not awake. So that's literally how I look at the world. Stop talking. So I just had to throw that out there, because this show is very, very good. And I really feel like it's going to get a lot of undeserved crap because of people and their ignorance. So this show has so much long-term series potential. I love the siblings dynamics. It's a really fun show. All right. If you have just gotten in here, please tell me I'm not crazy. The Althea is the love child between Mary and Luke Fox on Batwoman. Just saying. And I'm like, just saying. I wonder if this means Hong Kong action movies are woke as well. Absolutely. They kind of feel like in your country, you know, if it's within China, everybody is Chinese. So they don't feel like there's really any need to question, you know, you, unless you throw something in like having like a lot of like white or black people or gay people in a Hong Kong movie, then they're going to be like agenda. They probably would say that. But for the most part, if it's made in a different country, they can't really complain as much. They can, but they don't. If it's made in the US, that's when they start getting real, like real ugly. Let's see. Asian action cinema exhibits everything in this episode. I agree. Like I said, this is like watching literally a kung fu movie. We went from Shaolin Monk like to like elements of all the CW dramas we've been seeing that headline, you know. I wanted to say Nancy Drew, but again, Nancy Drew has been getting on my last nerve. It's why I have not been reviewing it. It's bothering me. It is boring and it's bothering me. And I don't like how they treat their gays, and I don't like how they treat their minorities. And I don't like Nancy Drew right now. I'm just not a fan. I'm trying. I watch it every week, and every week I'm just like, I'm not talking about it. I'm just not. So yeah, they're not doing well rating wise either. And they already got renewed. So I don't know what that says. Displacing LGBT people from the media is an agenda at Approach the Nerd. Displacing. So I think it's not necessarily displacing LGBT people. I can't talk today. LGBT people in media. I think it's people thinking that having an inclusion of LGBT people in the show and then calling it woke is a problem, because quite frankly, they've been here the entire time. I mean, this is nothing new. It's not like these TV shows all of a sudden invented LGBT people. It was like, oh, what happens? How can we make a whole nation of gay people? Let's just put gay people in our dramas, therefore influencing the next generation to all be gay. That's literally the stuff that I've seen in comments. That is the things that people have said. It is really weird to me. It's just very, very weird. So it's not really displacing. It's more like accepting the fact that LGBT people, you know, if you actually need a good example, I use this in my Charmed review. Charmed aired in what? Early 90s to late, no, actually it was late 90s to early 2000s. How many gay people did you see in all of the Charmed universe? Maybe a handful, maybe even like a couple, right? They lived in San Francisco. That has one of the largest gay populations in the country, especially in the 90s. Now, don't get me started with that. Get me started. As a Black person, the similarities between Asian moms and Black moms culturally is so similar. When Nikki's sister said she was scared her mother was silent and simply walked away, I felt that. Oh, yeah. See, I didn't have a Black mother. I had a Black father. The sentiment's still the same, though. But I had a Scottish mother. And trust me, like my mother, if I looked at her wrong, there was no, oh, I'm going to yell at you, or maybe you shouldn't do that. Let's go have a talk about. No, my mother smacked the hell out of me. So yeah, I felt that though. I did. Well, and then I also this is real talk. Okay. My first marriage was right out of high school to my daughter's, biological father. And, so if you haven't figured it out, yes, I'm LGBT, but I am bisexual. I guess I'm more pan. I don't care about the gender. But so I think she must have been 3 months old when my mother-in-law at the time told me that they were talking to one of their friends back in Vietnam. Now the grandmother is Chinese and the grandfather is from Saigon. So he's Vietnamese, but they were talking to one of their friends back in Vietnam, whose daughter had a son who was 1 year old, and that they were thinking that that would be a good match for my daughter, Mai. And I was like, over my dead body or yours? Like, and that when she was talking about going to China in the pilot and being basically going to a matchmaking, person to get her, in China to get her a good Chinese man, I was like, yeah, that tracks because that happened to my child and she was only 3 months old. So yeah, real. It's real, guys. It's real. The CW's highest total viewership number for a Wednesday debut in 7 years since the 100 debuted. Wow, really? That's really cool. Well, I know that. So I was looking at Nancy Drew, right? Because that also airs on Wednesday. And between demographics, I think 18 and 35, they had zero viewership. So I already knew that Kung Fu was going to dominate on Wednesday. And maybe it might save Nancy, even though Nancy Drew, I think, already has a season 3 order. So we'll see. I'm really excited with that number, though. That's very cool. That is very cool. Thank you for understanding. I'm sure your French is quite good. No, the only French I know is oui and French fries, and French fries is an ignorant American joke. So no, I don't know any French. Now, my Korean American spouse took French in high school and was in honors, I think, or AP French. So probably could have a very good conversation with you. I took Japanese, so I know nothing. I know nothing. Bonjour. Nothing. But don't take it personally. I butcher everyone's names and everyone's language all of the time. Universally. I find it upsetting that showing diversity and that different people exist is painted to be some negative agenda by some people. It is. It absolutely is. It's scary, actually. I don't get it. I don't get why you can't just enjoy the show and just accept that these things exist. If people did that, it wouldn't be an issue. Watch the show for what you want to watch it for. Take what you want to take from it and just stop. It's just really stupid. I don't get it. What about is people complaining about LGBT people being represented are the ones with the agenda? No, I got David. This wasn't a reflection of you. I was just explaining what I thought the real issue is. Like, you have to understand that people, and you probably get this, people need something to be upset about. It's just what they do. They need to have something to be upset about. If you study, the Holocaust, you will know that some of the Germans that followed Hitler that were told the Aryan race was blonde and blue eyes and didn't realize or did realize that he had brown hair and brown eyes and was part Jewish himself were so destitute and they were so tired of not having anything that they literally took that self-loathing that they had and projected it on another group of people and became what this dictator told them was the problem in their life. You want to face your problems? Get rid of these people and take their stuff. This is what they thought. This is literally what they taught. And you know what? This has happened in our country. It happened during slavery. It happened, it happened when the Pilgrims first got into this country. The first Thanksgiving is not us sitting around sharing corn and food. No, it was a massacre. So like throughout history, this has been a thing. Nothing has changed. The attack on the Capitol, think about it. Think about who did it. Think about who inspired it. Think about people's fear level. They fear being basically displaced from this entitlement that they've had for a very, very long time. They're like, well, if we don't have this entitlement and this power, then what do we have? And it is that fear that makes all of this ignorance possible. It is that fear that makes these YouTubers that have this anti-woke agenda channels so effing successful, because these people are driven by fear, and it is sad. So it's what it is. It's what it is. I had to watch it with my math class in the background. I mean, what you gotta do? You can tell one of the characters is a math nerd. How many of the stunts were performed by the actual actors? I don't know. That's a good question, actually. I would love to see I wish we did like a behind the scenes thing, like on CW. You know how they used to do those little talks or whatever? I wish they would do that with this show, kind of show the trend. And then, you know what, though? They might do something like that. If not, maybe when it goes to Blu-ray. we'll see like the behind the scenes of the stunts and all that. But I think it's cool. I don't follow anybody on Instagram, so maybe we should check that out. Maybe we'll see it, because I remember when Javicia Leslie first became Batwoman, she was posting all of the stunts and stuff that she was doing, I think, on her Instagram. So maybe we just need to follow some of the cast members and see what they're doing. I also want to know if anybody besides Henry and Nikki are going to fight. That would be interesting. If the gay agenda is a thing, then the straight agenda has been going on for ages. I know, right? It's like, oh, I'm not going to sit here and see two same-sex people kissing. But you're completely okay with, the people that are same-sex seeing the people that are not kissing. That's the same thing. Honestly, let's just not watch anybody kiss. Just be happy. I agree. Charmed in the 90s never showed any LGBTQ characters in San Francisco. Buffy did it on the WB, so they didn't even have the excuse of it not being a thing they could do. And then I know, and what gets on my nerves about that, guys, and this is a perfect example of why I don't want this to happen with this show, is that the actresses for Piper, especially Piper's Holly, I forgot Holly's last name, but Piper's actress, she is so vocal. She's like, we were so progressive for our day, and we treated everybody fairly, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, please. And I mean, I don't want anybody to take this wrong. This is coming from a minority, okay? You had a token black man. That was Daryl. You had 2 episodes with LGBT people. One was a guy and one was a girl. And the girl came to Paige and said, my partner's missing. Me and her are in love. We've been living together. She didn't come home. They found out, Paige basically found out these pirates took this woman and gave her like an aging curse. And she was sitting there aging to death. She wasn't able to save her. Paige got infected. So everybody saved her. The woman that she went to save was dead. They never showed the partner. They never went back and showed the partner, anything. They didn't tell the partner the woman was dead. They just brushed that off because it wasn't important. So I had issues with that. And unfortunately, we are in 2021 and the same crap is still happening, especially in terms of them not thinking it's important. So it's stupid. I'm glad the Asian protagonist is actually played by an Asian. I don't know what they were thinking with David Carradine back in the day. They weren't thinking. I mean, it's like having Bruce Lee as Kato. That made no sense. When you are better than the Green Hornet, the Green Hornet is like, Kato, save me. And then he comes, basically flying in and beating everybody's butt. What was the point? When they have Bruce Lee pretend that Robin beat his butt when they did a crossover with Adam West's Batman series, that was racism. I'm like, racism. So, but we know how Hollywood is. I mean, look at the Avatar movie. What made a lot of people upset was not just that they whitewashed, Aang and all of the other characters. Like, Aang, I think, was half Asian, but yeah, Katara and Sokka were white as hell. And they wanted, I think, Jesse McCartney as Zuko. And I'm like, I understood why people were mad. It wasn't just that they whitewashed. It's because M. Night Shyamalan, what I call Shall We Be Gone, he did the casting himself, and he's a whole freaking minority. I'm like, how are you going to be a minority and whitewash stuff? I mean, I don't understand that. So that's why they got upset about that. And that was one of the biggest reasons why they were upset. And the fact that to this day, he still defends that casting choice is why he doesn't, really get a lot of, followers, and his movies aren't really doing as well. It's because people have a long memory, and that is BS. So, but I will say, I really do love the fact that they stuck to not just having the protagonist be Asian, but it's an almost predominantly Asian cast. Like, yeah, we have Evan, who is the white American boyfriend. But outside of that, everybody's Asian. And I think that's pretty damn cool. I am very excited about that. Because what was the movie? Why did the movie go out of my head? Oh, I forgot the movie that came out with Michelle Yeoh, that Constant Wu girl. Oh, why can't I remember it? I can't remember the movie. You know what I'm talking about. It was the first time they ever had an all Asian cast, except I think the main lead was half British or half European, half Asian. Why can't I remember the name of that movie? I've seen it like 3 times. Making me work, guys. Making me work. Hold on. I got to go to my girl. Michelle Yeoh is my goddess. She's my goddess. You want to talk about somebody hot? That woman, she is 50. She is almost in her 60s and is hot as hell. Sorry, instead of throw that out there, because she is Crazy Rich Asians. That's what it is. Crazy Rich Asians. So that was the first time I personally ever seen an entire Asian cast outside of that one character, who was the lead male, who was half Asian. But I think they were playing Malaysian. But yeah. Regarding Holly's statement, Daryl, a black character, was a token character without any development for most of the show, and his wife, I didn't even know he was married until season 5. I know. I think he mentioned having a wife, but we never saw her because they never cast anybody. And the reason they let Daryl go is because they couldn't keep Daryl and continue with the budget. Like they couldn't find a way to make that work. And I'm like, that's so. Don't get me started on that. I'm like, don't get me. M. Night shall be gone, refusing to cast Asian actors for Asian heroes. Now that's a twist. Yeah, being a whole freaking Asian himself. I mean, how? How? I don't understand how you may not. No, well, to be fair, yes, he's Indian and that's Asian. The whole universe of the Avatar, they took literally pieces of different Asian cultures and different Indonesian cultures, and they like made different people, like the Water Tribe specifically. They did that because they wanted to have protagonists that were minorities, because in every Netflix series or cartoon show up to that point, outside of SpongeBob, that is a freaking sponge, they didn't have minority representation. So they were like, hey, why not have a series that we develop that fixes this? And then you make a live action movie and you whitewash it, and it's whitewashed by an Asian director. I'm like, it's like, oh Lord, don't get me on this. Disney has been feeding the straight agenda to kids for decades. No one wants to have that argument. I know. You cannot tell me that Raya is not a lesbian. And Raya in The Last Dragon. You cannot tell me that. There are so many freaking LGBT vibes in that movie. It's not even funny. And they're like, yeah, heteronormative. That's what you guys are seeing here. Heteronormative. There's no way that Raya is straight. Whatever. Michelle Yeoh, she is my goddess. Praise the goddess Yeoh. Like, she is crazy hot. I remember the first movie I really saw her in, which is, I know she's had earlier movies, was in Super Cop with Jackie Chan. And I was like, take me. Like, this is how I knew I was into women. The first person that got me into women was actually Xena, Warrior Princess. But Michelle Yeoh was definitely, that's when I had a type. Like, I have a type. I'm like, badass women. Oh, sorry. I'm going to click on that. Need a Crazy Rich Asian. I think they are doing the sequel, aren't they? Isn't it based on the book series? So I think they are working at, probably because of COVID, they haven't made any progress. But I'm pretty sure that is the goal, because it made a lot of money. A lot. Like I didn't know who Awkwafina was until I saw that movie, and now I see her in everything. And I don't know if that was like her breakout role or not. I'm behind on that. But I loved her in that movie. I loved Awkwafina a lot in that movie. And I love that movie as a whole. So yeah, I think they are going to have one. M. Night gets roasted hard by Channel Awesome. As well he should. As well. Look, I tried to suspend my disbelief on his movies, especially with Signs. You mean to tell me that you got a bunch of aliens that are scared of water, and they come to a freaking planet that is what, 70, 75% water? What is wrong with you? I'm like, I don't understand. That's like Martian Manhunter being scared of fire and flying into the damn sun. It makes no sense. So I've already forgiven the fact that some of his movies are stupid, but the whole thing with The Last Airbender, I couldn't suspend it. I was like, this is garbage. So I was done. I was absolutely done. Shelly, I was a legend. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon I love Crouching Tiger. I haven't seen the sequel. I think that's on Netflix. I have not seen the sequel to that movie. But I need to. I do need to see that. But yeah, Michelle is my girl. I love her in Star Trek Discovery too. She is amazing in that series. She does not act like any character she's ever played in that series. Why is it when shows don't have budget or suddenly don't know how to write a character of color they created, they get rid of them? Smallville, Pete Ross, Teen Wolf's Kira Nakamura, Charmed Daryl. For Smallville with Pete, now don't quote me on this. He had a drug problem, actor. So as a matter of fact, I think it's so weird if you really think about this now, knowing what you know about what happened to them. He got arrested a lot for drugs. And I don't know if it was a hit and run. And then Chloe's actress, Allison Mack, I think it is, was arrested for being not only in a sex cult, but trafficking women. So, yeah. So in that regard, the Pete thing, I understand, because I don't think they got rid of him. I really believe it's because of his drugs. He got in trouble. But yeah, with Kira, which was Arden Cho, I believe. Yeah, that was stupid. I don't know why they did that. Charmed Daryl, we already know why they did that. You know, I mean, he was a token black actor and they wanted to save money. Crazy Rich Asians. Yes, that's the movie that I was thinking about. I really love that movie. And that is the only other time I've ever seen a predominantly Asian cast. And so that's why I think this is awesome. What's the next comic character video that you're going to do? Oh, I have got 3 going on. Well, right now I'm working on Excalibur. Basically, Yito was so gracious enough to tell me that Quanon had a talk with Betsy Braddock about, you know, basically her taking over Quanon's body. And so I want to review and give my opinion on that problematic stuff. Very problematic storyline. But yeah, I have a few characters that I am working on, so they are coming, I promise you. And I know that I keep saying this about this Fate video, but it's coming too. It really is. I actually decided to just say F it, and so I made a shorter video. So I took a lot of stuff out, and I'm just trying to make sure the stuff I didn't take out does not affect the size, because the size is huge. It was huge. There's no reason for me to have a over 12 gig video for a 12-minute video. So it was like a gig a freaking minute, and that's what was happening. So I just need to figure that out, because this video has been the bane of my existence, and it's not even a hard video. So it's driving me nuts. But I do have a lot of comic characters that are coming out, I promise you. Some of them kind of obscure and some of them not. So you will see them, I promise. Yeah, you don't want to see the sequel. The script was garbage. Oh, really? Oh, wow. Well, maybe they'll redo the script. Oh, you have more info on that? Okay, I will read that in a sec, Dito. You should watch the Hello Future Me YouTube channel, 2-hour roast of Avatar: The Last Airbender. It really explains why the film was trash. It's amazing to me. A professional director screwed up so badly. It does not shock me at all. Like, at all. Look at some of his past movies. I mean, I liked, what was it? Was it Sixth Sense? I don't know. That movie, whatever that movie was with Bruce Willis, was good. But every movie after that, I've always had a question mark with. So I've never been a fan. And like when he got to I don't even know why they let him do The Last Airbender. I'm be real with you. I don't know why. Apparently Trini Howard had an interview recently in September 2020. What? She wanted to highlight Betsy Braddock's white privilege and entitlement in her writing for Excalibur. Well, she did. From what I've been seeing and people have been talking about, she did a good job, because I've read I have issues 15 through 19. All right. Is it 15 through 19 and 15 through 18? I'll have to go back and look, because when you told me that, I went on Comixology and I got them. So I got them. And so I am going to be definitely doing my opinion, because I've always, if you look at my Psylocke video where I spotlight her like early in this channel, that had been like the second or third video I ever did on this channel. You know how I felt, how problematic the whole thing with Quanon was. Just so problematic. And now that they've actually had the conversation, now I have a lot to say about it. So yay, it's going to happen. Hi Chase, how are you? How did I feel about the premiere overall? It's amazing. I love the premiere of this show. I am excited for what's going to happen. I love the fact that we got a predominantly Asian cast. And you know me, I'm a fair reviewer. I will nitpick anything, which is why I've been nitpicking the women in the Shaolin Temple getting their butts kicked, in the beginning. But I don't have a lot of negative things to say about the series. The pilot was just really, really well done. It was really, I mean, they did have to rush some plot points because again, they didn't have I'm used to premieres being 2 hours long. They didn't have that whole, flexibility to just take their time. So a lot of the stuff that Nikki had to deal with had to be in her face, like immediately, very quickly. But outside of that, my gosh, I mean, I have no complaints. I am super, super excited for this series. And then if the pilot is anything to go by, and the pilot's normally worse than the series, it's going to be a good series. So loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. If there's an issue 20 that came out yesterday that closed Quanon and Betsy's feud. Okay. I will have to get that on comment. It probably I have the subscription, so it probably gave me an alert. I'll have to go and look at it. I personally feel that Trini Howard did show Betsy has Betsy has white privilege, but they don't have her address it really. She's not gonna address it. Now, I will say this. You gotta feel bad for Betsy because Betsy, and if you don't know her backstory, her daddy is from another dimension. And the other dimension is like a magical, think of a magical Camelot, they all have this magical, insanely powerful warrior. And, they needed another warrior. So his father was tasked with going to, I think it was Earth 616. We're going to call it Prime Earth, to find a mate to basically sire the next Captain Britain. And he had 3 kids. He had Jamie Braddock, who was, according to Daddy, not worth his time, pretty much a bad try, defective. And then he had the twins. He had Brian and he had Betsy. And Betsy, being a girl, is like, oh, well, you can't be Captain Britain, because sexism. And of course, Brian was the golden boy. So he became the one. Daddy was like, you're it. You are Captain Britain. You're the one that we're going to have. Yada, yada. We're like, all right, dude's nuts, but that's fine. So he became Captain Britain. But that meant Betsy always felt inadequate, didn't measure up. She became a model. She was a part-time pilot. She had bulimia. She was bulimic or anorexic. I can't remember, but she had an eating disorder. She was messed up because she had inferiority complex with her brother. So did her older brother had an inferiority complex with both Brian and Betsy, because initially he didn't think he had any powers. They didn't realize that he was pretty much Nexus being type, reality bender, that he actually was scary. And maybe Daddy should have treated him right so that he wouldn't be messed up and cause a lot of crap in the future for the X-Men and a lot of other Marvel characters. But yeah, so the backstory is there. So that's why Betsy is the way she is. She is very entitled, but she is very messed up. She has inferiority complex. So there are issues where she literally says she did not find self-love for herself until she was in Quanon's body. That is problematic as hell. Thanks. I didn't know about the stuff with Pete. There is a cringy Allison Mack singing video of hers dedicated to the cult leader on YouTube that's left me questioning her mental state in the cult. I think she's been crazy the whole time. I mean, honestly, that's why she played Chloe so correctly, because, Chloe was all over the place mentally. So, yeah. I mean, she's at least got to say, like, hey, thanks for risking your lives to save me from my pity party. I'm sorry, put you guys at risk because I couldn't see past myself. I mean, yeah. So another, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but we're working on, I'm going to have to really get with Blurred about this. We've already recorded lines for a project he's doing that involves Psylocke and Betsy, which is very funny. I'm going to talk to him about that tonight. I think you guys are going to get a kick out of that, actually. It'll be posted on his channel, and it's absolutely crazy. So I helped him a tiny bit with the script, but it's crazy. It is crazy. Yes, I love the cast, and I thought the premiere was great. I went on Twitter and said that my one worry about the series is that their missed opportunity with Ryan as a gay Asian man. Yeah, well, and see, I don't want to say it's a miss yet because maybe, I mean, he did say something that I think is 100% accurate, and that's that he told his parents, and his mom's acting like it didn't happen, and his father is kind of like weird about it a little bit. So it's like he told them, and they did what a lot of parents, not just Asian parents, but a lot of parents do. They live in denial. Like, unfortunately, that's the way it is. And from my limited limited experience within 2 different Asian families as a married in member, in those cases, it is absolutely the same thing. Because I am in an LGBT marriage right now, and to this day, I don't think they really accept it. So, yeah, it is what it is. I didn't think Blurb was really interested with those two. Oh yeah, Psylocke is not his favorite character. But yeah, we've had long, deep conversations, and it did lead to a project to be born from it. Anyway, I'm looking forward to your video. I don't want to derail your stream too much. This is about Kung Fu, LOL. True. You know how we do, though. We get into our feelings. Like, I heard that Motherland Fort Salem has started filming season 2. No, actually, they have stopped. They just finished season 2. They are going to be premiering it this summer. So I will absolutely be reviewing Motherland Fort Salem because I am super excited for that show. I love Motherland Fort Salem. Were you a fan of Bruce Lee's work prior to the new Kung Fu show? Absolutely. 100%. My dad was a big Kung Fu like nerd. And so we used to watch, I don't know how many of you in the States had this airing, but they used to every Saturday on, I think it was UPN, they used to air like martial arts movies or Kung Fu movies, and sometimes like really old, like sword fantasy movies. So that's how I got into the Storm Riders, and because I was a big like Ekin Chang and Aaron Kwok fan, and with my dad, like he was a big Bruce Lee fan, and he also liked Sammy Hong, and he liked Jet Li. You know, some of the old schools, they all used to train together when they were younger at Monastery. So, and then I've always loved Jackie Chan. So Bruce Lee started like Enter the Dragon was one of the best movies I've ever seen. And that's just true. I've always loved it. I was so sad that he came up with Kung Fu, and I read his autobiography that they told him he was too Chinese to play a Chinese man, you know, in a drama about a Chinese man, like who's traveling around, you know, and I'm like, so yeah, Bruce Lee was my first, I guess, introduction into Asian racism. Because that's what he went through. It's one of the reasons he went back to China to make movies, because he was treated like shit here. So yeah, big Bruce Lee fan. I've also loved Brandon Lee. I love The Crow. I was so sad that was the last movie he ever did because he died making that movie. I support anything Shannon Lee does. I know she does a show, The Warrior. I haven't seen it, but yeah, big fan of Bruce Lee. Yeah, I just worry that they won't pursue more of the story. They said it makes me apprehensive because their rep can be all over the place. I know. So I'm hoping they keep the writers. So long as they keep the writers and the showrunner they have, which I think the showrunner is Asian. Pretty sure. I'll have to go back and look. Then I 100% would be on board with that. I would think that, like, you know, the story, as long as the story, it progresses based on their vision and they don't rotate writers back and forth like they do with every other CW show, then we should be fine. Because, I mean, look at Stargirl. Stargirl's writing right now was pretty good, like for season 1. And yeah, half of the time they were introduced into the CW, they didn't start with the CW. So there is that. So we do have to think about the fact that they were not initially a CW brand and now they are. So I guess season 2 would be the actual, you know, kicker on whether or not that still continues to do well. But if they follow that trek where they're doing their own thing, then we may be okay. Because for the most part, Black Lightning technically is a CW show or an Arrowverse show. And they've had kind of consistent writing. They just, I mean, their character assassinating Lynn right now, but, you know, other than that, I feel like they've had the same writing team. So as long as they keep the same writers for the show, we will be fine. If they start rotating them out, though, like they do with Charmed and Roswell, New Mexico, and all these other shows, then we have a problem. That'll be problematic. I will have a lot of problems with that. And you'll know it because I will say it in the review. I'm African, and Lily grew up watching Bruce Lee, Jet Li, Jackie Chan, and Donnie Yen. Donnie Yen movies are cool too. I like the one where he was a reincarnated ice, like I don't know if he's a warrior or a master. That movie cracked me up. It really cracked me up. I think my dad was Team Bruce, and mom was Team Jackie. So me and mom, we were Team Jackie and Team Bruce. My dad was just Team Bruce. I don't know how you can't like Jackie Chan. I don't care about anything in his personal life. The man literally set his crotch on fire for a movie. That is ultra respect. I'm like, respect. When he did Rumble in the Bronx, he broke his foot and they had to make a a cast that resembled the tennis shoe to match the shoe that he had on. So his foot was broken in about 1/4 of the movie. And you never knew it because that's how dedicated. That man does all his own stunts. So yeah, huge. They don't make him like that anymore. But yeah, Bruce Lee used to literally practice by putting like bricks on his stomach and then electrocuting himself. I mean, come on. You can't. That's like end game. That's end level. I wouldn't fight him. And I think I'm 5'5". I don't know how tall he was in real life. Could have been shorter than me, could have been taller. I don't know, but I would not take him on at all. So yeah, The Warrior is an amazing show. Yeah, I've heard that. I've seen clips on YouTube. I want to check it out. I'm going to have to check that out, but I'm so behind. It's just so much, guys. Don't quote on this, but I think the showrunner is Christina M. Kim. Let's see. I'm going to find out because I'm going to find out. I should find out the name of the guy. I can't remember too. I'm just being lazy, guys. Executive producer is Christina M. Kim. She's also the developer. The co-producers and creators are Greg Berlanti, which of course he's in everything, and Martin Guerrero and Sarah Schechter. I don't care about them. There's a producer. I just don't care. Let's see if we can find some of the writing cast because I would love to have writing class. I'm looking now to see what it says. Do we have the writing cast? Gwendolyn Yao is cast as Shalon. Okay, we know that. I understand that. That's great. But who's writing it? Who's writing it? I hate when they don't tell me what I want when I want it. I'm like, now. Wait, you know what? When in doubt, IMDb. I thought Wiki would tell me, but it did not. It let me down. So let's go to IMDb and look. I know you can't see my screen because I'm not sharing. Give me 1 second. I'm just trying to see if I can figure out who the writers are because that would be full cast and crew. Okay. Oh, so she actually is the writer. Christina Kim is, she developed and did the teleplay for all 10 episodes. Okay. So instead of Shonderland, we have Kimland. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. So did you make all the Tekken connections with the famous martial arts? I knew there was going to be some video games part here. I actually didn't. I am not. Okay. I played the video games, but I don't remember them enough. And I didn't watch the live action Tekken movie to be able to make that distinguished, Easter egg search that a lot of people have done and that I do and a lot of other stuff. But no. So please, Wilbert, enlighten me because I did not. Let's see. It's unfortunate Bruce faced so much hardship. He was so talented. Hollywood has historically treated people of color so badly. Yep. And unfortunately, that hasn't changed enough. Nope. Not at all. Unfortunately. I mean, we say unfortunately, it's just garbage. It really is. She was Christina in the video of the show Q&A for the Comic Con. It's on YouTube. I'll have to go check that out. I'm really excited to see that she wrote all 10 episodes. That means we probably will get a very good season. So, and I think that they do that on purpose, because let's be real, when you start writing about another culture that is not yours and you have no experience in, you have a potential to really piss off a lot of people. So I think what they're doing is they're letting Christina run this show, and then they're just taking the back seat to it. It's not like, Charmed. Charmed, they don't have as much skin in the game, but they do have, because Charm actually has a legacy it can fall back on, saying, oh no, the two shows aren't the same, like OG Charmed and that one, but they can say, oh, this is a spinoff of this show, or this is a different Earth version of this Charm, yada yada. They can't really do that with Kung Fu, especially since this is a completely different take on this show that was also originally created by Bruce Lee. So yeah, I think that there's this kind of a redemption thing. So maybe we will get no interference and crappy writing, and that's when fingers crossed, that is what's going to happen. We will see. Bruce Lee was an image of aspirational masculinity in many communities of color. Yeah, as well he should be. He literally zapped himself doing sit-ups and put bricks on his stomach. He put boulders on the back of him to do push-ups. That man was hardcore. Let's see. Law was Bruce Lee. The cop was Jackie Chan. The old man was Jet Li. Okay, I can see that. Did you know this was the best rated premiere for a Wednesday on CW in 7 years? Yes, actually. P4, I think it's L 1990 or just 1990. I think there's an L behind that. I am old, so I don't see. If you see me squinting, it's literally because I can't see what's happening. But yes, we were told that. I am extremely excited about it, and they should be very proud, because this pilot was F&A. I loved it. You said I spoke about the writing and casting choice. It's 30 minutes long. So they did speak about it? Okay, cool. Okay, I will definitely check that out, because I'm always interested in that. So it makes me feel like I have a lot of faith that the writing is going to be very good across the board if Christina did all of it. If they just left her alone and she did all of the writing, then I think it's going to be cool. Well, Kevin, considering Wednesdays used to be for Riverdale, I'm not surprised. Oh, and don't forget Nancy Drew. So guys, I'm sorry. I need to make a separate video one day on why I'm really getting upset about Nancy Drew. I'm just tired of it. It's boring and it's problematic. They don't. And when it comes to LGBT representation, yes, they have a character, Bess, who is into girls, but she's not allowed to be with a girl, because her relationship, every time she's been in one relationship with one girl that completely disappears, like all the time, like for episodes on end. And then you finally have one episode where it looks like they're getting together, and then Bess stands her up, and then you never hear anything about it again. Bess is not remorseful. She's not missing her. There's nothing. They don't have a bury your gaze trope. They have a push your gaze back in the closet trope. And I do not like that crap. So I am not a fan anymore of Nancy Drew, which is really a shame, because the actress who plays George was in the movie called Half of It on Netflix, where she played a lesbian, and she did an amazing job, even though I don't think she's a lesbian in real life. So I know the potential to do LGBT correctly in this supernatural little town. It's very easy, but you are not going to tell me that in this town, nobody is effing gay. Like, I can't. I just can't. So just can't do it. I think Paul was Jean-Claude Van Damme. I mean, you can call me Camille. It's more easy to pronounce. Hi, Camille. That's a very pretty name. Will you be doing a review of the Dawn of X story arc in X-Men? I would be interested in hearing your thoughts about it. Probably. I definitely want to. I have been kind of skimming around on my, when I say skimming back on my comic book reviews, only because all of these shows keep coming out. And so I work 7 days a week. So I'm trying to get on a schedule where I can do comics one day, do, my show reviews on certain days, because they have to come out at certain times, which is why when I do a Charm review, people are like, oh my God, you do it the same night. I'm like, you don't understand. I'm like, if I wait till Monday, then that pushes my schedule off, because that's another show I have to review on Monday. On Tuesday, I have Arrowverse Tuesdays, where I combine Supergirl and The Flash. So I'm on this crazy schedule right now, but I promise you, they're coming. They are coming. I split my LGBT content from Approach the Nerd to a brand new channel, Approach the Yuri, because I wanted to be able to continuously talk about it without it taking the space of something else. So yes, Dawn of X is on my radar. It really is. And I need to get blurred on this channel too, because I really feel like me and him just need to have a comic breakdown and just like have talk about our favorite storylines. That needs to happen because he hasn't been on here in a minute. And I really, really love comics. So I need to get back into that. I also am in the Sentai and Kamen Rider. I have not even touched Kamen Rider Saber. I stopped with my current Sentai reviews. I've only done the first episode of the latest Sentai because I'm gonna be real, I'm not into it. I'm trying. I'm just not. It's the first time in ever I've never been into a Sentai series, but I'm not into this new series. Zenkaiger, I'm not into it. So comics will definitely be in the radar. I promise you. So Dawn of X, as a matter of fact, what would be really helpful for me, please put this, when we're done with the stream, put the things you want me to look at and potentially review in the comment section. So I will put it on my list because I'm working on another comic spotlight video currently, which is the Excalibur, my thoughts on the whole Excalibur, Betsy and Quanon problematic story. It's just so fucking horrible. Excuse my French. So I have a lot of feelings on it. A lot of feelings on it. So we will be talking about that. Also, I need to say this because I won't remember until I plug it tomorrow. So tomorrow evening, and I should know the time, I'm doing another collaboration with Jordan, who created Power Rangers Unworthy, the web series. And we're going to be talking about the Godzilla versus Kong movie. So that is what we're doing tomorrow. I have not forgotten about that movie because, I love my Titans. I was waiting for him. So we're going to have a live stream about it tomorrow. So I will post what time, either tonight or in the morning. And so me and him will be collabing on that one. And so that should be very interesting. So it's happening, guys. It's happening. I promise. Luckily, I am off tomorrow, so I'll get a lot more done because my job is killing me right now. I'd love to see your take on Nancy Drew. I really enjoyed the season 1, but season 2 hasn't been as good. The Best Elizabeth storyline is off, though. I didn't even realize they broke up. Yeah, I'm telling you, the whole Best Elizabeth thing makes no sense because Elizabeth was in it, she would be in an episode, then she wouldn't be in 3 episodes. Then she'd be in an episode, then she wouldn't be in 3 episodes. And then season 2, it was they didn't even mention her. And then all of a sudden she came and she's like, I love you. My parents are in town. And then it was okay. And then Bess, for some reason, decided, I was a coward. I didn't go in and I didn't go see her. And I'm like, no, you're just an idiot. I'm like, they made the person that I think is the dumbest. And I don't mean she's dumb. She's book smart. But when it comes to real life, she's a klepto and an idiot. They made her the lesbian. And I really wish they had made George the lesbian because I really dislike Bess's character. And I really am angry that they finally got an actual relationship with a person. Elizabeth was a cop. She's stable. She's intelligent. She's smart. She has common sense. And they treat her like crap. She's literally gone. Literally, it's just not even a concept. Bess doesn't even look like she cares. She doesn't care. She's just living my best life. And her biggest issues are, the Marvins. I've got to make sure I'm good for the Marvins. I'm my aunt and the Marvin. And you know what? I can't. I just can't do this. I cannot. So yeah, I don't like Nancy Drew anymore. I just don't. So yeah, don't get me started on Nancy. When you see my Fate review, I compare Bloom's character to Nancy Drew a little bit because to me, they are essentially the same person. That's not a good thing. I think the Charm reboot would have been better if they picked people of color to run it, executive produced like Kung Fu, because it's gotten a bit obvious at times to me that the top isn't diverse. That's how I feel about the Bold type sometimes too. Don't get me started on the biracial conversation episode again, written by a white woman. Did you see Invincible? It's on Prime. I would love to know your opinions on it. That is what we're actually planning on watching on Saturday, I think. Yeah, Saturday. I don't know if they put all the episodes up. I think they're doing them 1 or 2 at a time. I don't know. I'll have to look at that because I'm also really into the Dragon Prince on Netflix and the Jurassic Crustaceous Camp or whatever. That show's really good. And that's coming back in May. So I've got a lot to talk about with that. But yeah, Invincible looks like it's a cool show. From the trailer, it looks really good. So I'm into any cartoon that's very adult and graphic and has a little bit of gore in it. And that one satisfies my needs. So it looks cool. I heard about the Betsy and Quan nonsense. I'm glad that they finally had the scene to separate them. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to have some feelings on that one. I'm a huge fan of Charm, but to be honest, I feel let down by the writing. Love the characters. The plot is promising, but then the execution, absolutely. What they are doing to Abigail is making me angry. And this Sunday, of course, we have Charm. So I will be reviewing it. We will do our after show live stream. If you're not up to see it, because I know sometimes it's different time zones, I'm on Central. So the show comes on from 8 to 9. And then by 9:30, I start a stream. So if you don't watch it, I don't want you to jump on the stream because I don't want you to be spoiled. So just check the stream out later. But I know I'm going to be in my feelings because Charm has been putting me in my feelings because how they are writing them is not good. Mel is my favorite character, but right now I can't stand her. And that is a problem. So yeah, I'm in my feelings on Charmed. It's letting me down, guys. When she spent the whole episode crying over Aunt Diana disowning her, I was pretty annoyed. You got the incredible friends who care more about you than the Marvins. Yeah, she's an idiot. I mean, she's just an idiot. I mean, I'm so done with Bess. I'm so done. Most CWs have a promising plot, but poor execution. I agree. That is very true. Invincible is great. It's 1 episode a week. The 5th episode is out tomorrow. Okay, so this is a good time. This is a good time to check that out. Okay. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to watch it and then do an overview of what I think so far. Because what I sometimes do is I wait till all of the episodes are out and then I do a season review. I need to do one for Adachi Toshimamura. That's on my list. But I really am excited to see this. So I don't think I'm going to wait. I think I'm actually going to watch it and then, see where it basically where it takes me. And because my Saturday load has kind of lightened up a little bit because I normally had 3 videos on Saturday. But since Yashahime is on break until season 2 and Ruby is on break until volume 9, I only have Power Rangers Dino Fury. So I have all of Saturday to watch Invincible, which makes me excited. So I am excited about that. A commenter in Blur's video for Excalibur 20 is arguing with me. They legit said that Betsy is not privileged and Quanon came from a privileged background herself. She didn't. She literally was raised by the hand and was an orphan. Okay, don't get me started. Don't get me la 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 la. Is it just me or does Blight Lightning not feel like a CW show? It never has. It feels like a Netflix show, only the wrong universe is DC and not Marvel. I could literally see him walking up to Luke Cage on another block and being like, "Hey, what's up?" I'm like, not because they're black, because they act similar. I'm like. So yeah, that is a very true realization and observation. It does not seem like a standard CW or Arrowverse show in the slightest. I hope the writing in Kung Fu will be better and more constant because in Charmed, I have the impression that the writers do not talk to each other. They don't. I mean, they absolutely don't. They have what I call the Bryan Singer, dartboard. They put plot ideas up. They throw darts at it. Doesn't have to make sense. Doesn't have to apply to any characters. They're like, we're gonna do that. Okay, cool. With who? Like, fill in the blank. Like, horrible. Effing horrible. I don't think the CW thinks Black Lightning is a CW show. Have you seen the episode of previews? No, exactly. There aren't any. To be fair. They haven't had any for a lot of shows lately. They're just like, meh. Like, I don't care. I don't think the CW realizes it has shows anymore, to be honest. But yeah, I get it. And in the grand scheme of things, Black Lightning does get shafted a lot. Hence why it's canceled. Although next season, this is the last series or season of the series. Charmed is really annoying. Ruby literally feels like a plot device. She doesn't want anything to do with magic, but yet is dating Mel. It's almost like they don't want fans to like the couple. That is my entire problem. Like when I say that I don't feel like Ruby and Mel have chemistry. I think Ruby is adorable. I think Ruby as a character that does help, that helps them from time to time, like Jordan does, because they misuse Jordan. I think that in itself would be amazing. But pairing her up with Mel of all people makes 0 sense. 0 sense to me. And I'm not saying that because I'm an Abby Mel fan, because I actually thought initially that Mel and Abby would be good together. Right now, I don't think anybody should be with Mel because Mel's being a biatch. So until she gets her crap together, and calms her little self down and stops being so judgmental, then I don't want anyone with her. I feel like putting anybody with Mel right now is stupid, because Mel needs to really work on herself. Like, how Maggie's like, this is the year of me. No, it needs to be the year Mel gets her crap together, because how she talked to Abby was hypocritical as hell. Yeah, I'm not happy. And then ignoring mental health. Because guys, I am a big advocate for mental health. And I do not like the fact that the CW let not once, but twice, a character in a series, in Charmed, whatever, treat another character who's crying out for help like crap and act like people that are suicidal don't matter. That is problematic as hell to me. It just is. Let's see. Don't get me started with Bryan Singer's butchering of Magneto. Magneto. He butchered the entire X-Men universe. Yes, I like the casting for Wolverine. I liked, Sir Patrick Stewart as Xavier. There are a few casting choices that were okay, but that's it. That's it. Abby and Mel ? Abby and Mel were basically who I wanted to be together. But right now, again, Abby be better off dating a box of animal crackers than Mel. Most people at this point would. Charm really could be such a great show, but it's just not. It's definitely so. I'm not hating on the entire show, because if I didn't like the show, I wouldn't review it. It's the writing currently that, like, season 1 Charmed, I really liked. Some people didn't. I love the monsters of the week. I love that we actually were dealing with spells. I love the witchcraft. I love them, trying to form a sisterhood. Season 2 was a convoluted mess. It was a mess. And now 3 started off with the pilot for season 3, the tail end of season 2. Okay. It was kind of, yeah. Then I think episode 2 of season 3 was it 3 or 4? I want to say the first 2 was the wrap up of 2. And then maybe episode 3 was like the new, like basically what actually happened after they did what they did with the source and the tree. And that, to me, I really liked where I thought it was going. And then it went right back to that season 2, all over the place, convoluted bullcrap again. And I'm just like, I can't, I just can't. I am so worried about this new, even though I am very happy that they cast a transgendered female actress for their cousin. I'm assuming this is cousin. I'm completely okay with this. But guys, they have potential to mess this up too. And if Kevin, our other transgendered actor, is only in there for the couple of episodes we've seen him in, what was the point of having this character? If he was only in there to get Mel to defy the dean and let her teach transgendered studies, okay, you've already accomplished this. Now what? Where's Kevin? So it's just stupid. It's just stupid. And the cat character in season 2, she got the biggest shaft. They cast this woman for what? I really want to go back and count the number of lines she had in season 2. I bet you I would not be shocked if they were under 30. So yeah, no. I like that on the Kung Fu pilot, you already have a lot of cultural exposition. In Charmed, we had like 3 spells in Spanish. I have high hopes for the next episode with their cousins next episode. That I'm hoping so too. At the very least, what makes me excited is that we're going to get Marisol's background, because their mama is shady. And I want to see this. I want them to be like, yeah, mama was kind of, because they already know she has no problem cheating. So now we get to see just how problematic Mama Marisol actually was. There's a reason she was an elder, and the elders in this series have proven to be shady as hell. So yes, give us more dirt on Mama Marisol, please. I need to know. Let's see, do you think it would be a mistake or a good idea for Saban to make an adult version of Power Rangers? Saban? Lipstick break. Okay, so sorry, chapped lips, man. Let's talk about this. Yes, it would be a mistake to let Saban. If he did an adult version of Power Rangers, it would end up being an adult version of the Power Rangers theme. And that would be really effing weird. The Go-Go Power Rangers theme would be very weird. But then you also have to look at the fact that Saban's writing team, like, they're not really good at continuity. So look at Power Rangers Samurai and explain to me how that cast was descendant from Japanese samurai. I mean, you had a girl with blonde hair who came from the trailer park. No. The only way I would accept that is if Saban got a completely different creative writing team and producers, then I would accept that. But Saban doing it, with our previous Power Rangers creative team, heck no. No. Mm-mm. Abby and Mel have more chemistry than Mel and Ruby, but Mel needs to grow. Abby needs help, and I hope Mel doesn't become Phoebe 2.0 and go to irredeemable selfish territory. That would make me mad, but I mean, I'm not gonna debate you on it because that's actually what's happening. So, yeah, that is a mess. That is a mess. I also hope that Kevin will have a better storyline because it feels more and more like the token transsexual. Yep, don't be woke only in a superficial way. So there is a show that I like. Which a lot of people know with the L Word, and this is the L Word Generation Q, which I will also review their season 2 whenever they have it, and I'm going to put it on the other channel because I did it on season 1 on this channel. So if you haven't seen Generation Q or L Word Generation Q and you want to watch it and you want to watch the reviews, they are on this channel. But they have a character who is trans male and Asian, and I swear to you, this character is the most underused token transsexual character in the whole effing series. And what makes me upset about that is that they already had this problem in the original L Word with another character that was trans that they treated like crap. So there was no redemption there. It was just like, oh yeah, we got a trans character. You can be in it like a little bit. And then that's it. So I kind of feel like that's what's happening with Kevin in Charmed. And it really makes me mad, especially since, I am team trans because I am married to a trans male. So I do not like that struggle is real. And I do not like that, we have to have these conversations when if you're going to say, hey, this show is going to spotlight this, then spotlight it. Don't, make the character a human being. Don't just, the best thing you can do about any sexuality from trans to, queer to even heterosexual is to not focus on the sexuality, make them people, characters, show what they like, their hobbies, their jobs, what concerns them. It doesn't have to always be about their freaking gender. Even if you don't like gender and you're non-binary, the person first. And it kills me. Kevin could be an amazing character, but you know what I know about Kevin? Kevin is an activist and Kevin is transgendered. That's Kevin. Charmed. Why? I mean, why? Saban does have a bad habit of getting in the way of the growth of Power Rangers franchise. Always has, always will. I do like what Hasbro did. A lot of people don't, but Beast Morphers was not as bad as it could have been. And I absolutely 100% love the morph. I always say this on Dino Fury. The characters aren't bad, but that morph is awesome. I'm like, the morph on Dino Fury is awesome. The theme song sucks. I actually want to rip my eardrums out whenever it comes on, but I love the morph, so I'm kind of stuck. But Hasbro has not let me down technically in terms of Power Rangers. I know they're getting away, or they're doing away with their Toei connection, so I don't know what their next Power Rangers endeavors are going to be, so the jury's still out, but I still prefer what they're doing to what Saban has done. And honestly, guys, I didn't mind RPM and SPD when Disney had it. I actually had no problem with Ninja Storm. So the only problem that I had was Operation Overdrive was stupid as hell. I mean, I'm just like, no, the theme song sucked, the plot sucked, it just sucked. Yeah, I'm going to have to do a Power Ranger rant again. I see. I have to do one. Speaking of trans, what do you think of Dreamer? Do you think Supergirl is doing her right? So yeah, Nia is actually a very good character. See, Kevin, I'm a person that's very honest with my reviews when I don't have all of the information. So I'm going by the limited amount of time I have seen Dreamer. So in the overall scope of the show, I cannot answer that question because I stopped watching at tail end of season 2 or beginning of season 3. And I just picked it up this season because it's the last season. And I've only kind of gone back and researched a little bit of what happened in season 5. So I wasn't completely confused. But in terms of what I saw of her intro story, like when she went home to visit her mom and her sister and how, she ended up getting the power and her, sister who was born biologically female did not. And how her mother was like, her sister was like, but you're not a real girl. That was some real stuff right there. So realistically, how they talk about her being trans, in terms of how she was dealing with her family, yes, I think that they did the character Nia wonderfully. Now, I don't know how they treated her in season 4, most of season 3, and season 5. So I don't know. I don't know. I know what I would like to happen. I would like for her and Brainy to have a happily ever after. But I don't know. Oh, yes, Dino Fury's theme song it is so horrible. I hope they didn't pay for that theme because I want one of my money back. I watched the Disclosure documentary on trans actors in Hollywood, and the OG L word was dragged by trans actors for its problematic portrayal of trans men. It's unfortunately they didn't fix it. I know, you think with Generation Q, they would have fixed it. I will say they had explicit love scene for this character. But I mean, the character development and the storyline was just so tied off for this character. Like everybody else was getting character development and this one wasn't. And I'm like, I don't understand that. I don't get that at all. I like the Disney era Power Rangers that added some maturity to the series. Yes. And we actually got some cool, like really cool theme songs out of that era too. I get so tired of renditions of Go-Go Power Rangers. I don't know why. Every time I hear Go-Go Power Rangers, I'm thinking Go-Go Dancers. I mean, it just really bothers me. I think they need to finish the storyline with Dreamer and her sister. So, okay. In the comics, I know what happens with the sister, kind of. Again, I think I talked about this before. So Dreamer's sister in the comics ends up going off and learning like witchcraft or sorcery or something like that and becomes a hero in her own right. And I'm hoping that's what's happening. That's why we haven't seen the sister, or that I know of. Maybe she's off training with her powers, and maybe we'll see her at the tail end of this one. It probably won't happen, but it is canon, so I don't know. I think they did a pretty good job with Nia in season 4, but they pushed her to the back during season 5. Seems like she's getting more spotlight this season, though, which isn't hard when Supergirl is stuck in the Phantom Zone. Like, she's one of the main active heroes at this point. Yeah, I heard season 4 was really good for Dreamer. Okay. I'll have to check that out. I'm sure it's on Netflix. My only critic with the pilot, besides the love triangle, is the job of Nikki's entourage. Oh, and so you have a doctor, a police officer, a hacker, and a Chinese history specialist. That's convenient. I was thinking that the guy being an expert or specializing in Chinese history and already knew what the name of the sword was very convenient. I even said that when me and my spouse were watching. I'm like, that's convenient. Like, let me show you my burned hand. I know I met you 5 minutes ago, but whatever. I agree with that. OMG, Power Rangers as Go-Go Dancer. Yeah. I did that. I'm sorry. I did that. Speaking of Rangers, though, completely off topic, I'm going to be getting got a bunch of Super Sentai stuff. I don't know if you can see this. This is I have a lot of Sentai stuff. This is my Magi Ranger Magi phone. I've had this for like 12 years. Like since the show came out. My friend was teaching in Japan, so I got that. And so I actually, one of my friends now, who you guys know, Joe's Geek Show, his wife is stationed in Japan. So they moved there, because she's military. And he lives by this really cool Sky Mall that has a huge Sentai store. So I got Go Kaiser stuff. I got Magi Ranger stuff. I got all kinds. I even got Garo stuff coming. So I'm going to have a really cool unboxing video when all of that stuff gets here because I am that nerd. I got the Token Changer from Tokanger with the trains, which is over there, which I need to actually do an unboxing because I haven't opened it because I have all the train. I have some of the trains actually here. Here is the Green Ranger's train from Tokanger. So yeah, I really love Sentai. So I don't know. I got problems, but just wanted to throw that out there that will be a future video too. I have a lot of videos on my list. I have a spreadsheet full of videos that I'm just going down the list on. So yeah. I really want to see Nikki's brother's storyline. I want to see him fall in love and see his family's journey of acceptance. I know. I want him to have a Malik situation like in Shadowhunters because I really think that would be cool. What do you think the biggest difference in between Super Sentai and its US adaptations? Restrictions. In the Sentai version, they don't have to worry about basically anything being rated for children. So they can be a lot more graphic than they need to be over here. Example, in Go-Go 5, the Yellow Ranger, he's a police officer. And so he's chasing this criminal and the criminal gets to like the deck of this like shipyard and he pulls his pants down and shows his butt and smacks it. And they show this and he jumps on the boat because he got away. And I'm like, that would never happen in Power Rangers over here. I mean, it just can't. When they get shot, you see blood. When you get shot in the States, they jump over it. I mean, that's always been a running joke, but it's true. When they shoot you, or case in point, Zato in Power Rangers, he got sliced by a sword in civilian form. He should be dead. Blunt force trauma to the head, but he wasn't even injured. That is the difference between Super Sentai and Power Rangers. So, yeah. Joe needs more views and likes. I know. It's that stupid algorithm. I mean, that we all face it. It's sad that YouTube does this. It recommends some channels over others, even when those other channels are really good. And we all fight this. We all do. So the algorithm is not nice. I was one of the very first reviewers to ever review Motherland Fort Salem. No joke. You can go back and look. I was the very first one. And because even though I'm a smaller YouTuber, my channel gets recommended every time Motherland comes up because I did it first. That is how small YouTubers get ahead. It is a game that we play on YouTube and it sucks. And I know people that have come out with like very good, detailed, thought out videos with the same subject that never get recommended, do not get views, do not get subs because they were not first doing it. And now the larger channels, they don't even have to try. You know, if you're over like 20, 50K to 100K, you literally can post a video next month and get views. And so that is the difference. And because Joe's in Japan, it's harder for him. So he doesn't have access to the American comics like he does in the States now. His nearest comic book store is 4.5 hours away. So he's having to do everything after everyone else does, and it's killing him. It's a game, guys. Do you hear about how Miles Luna from Ruby has speculating with a fan about potential romantic interest for John, and they were all men? Wow. No, I did not hear that. Huh. We need to have a Ruby chat. I'm going to have to schedule a Ruby effing live stream where we just talk everything Ruby because I love Ruby and I have questions. I already know one of the most established couples for me in that entire thing besides Ren and Nora is Bumblebee. I know there are a lot of White Rose fans out here, and I love a lot of people that will tear you apart if you argue with it. Which I don't, I mean, if they got together, it's cool. I always saw Ruby as asexual, but I mean, you know, asexual can be in a relationship. So, you know, it is what it is. But having John be bi would be interesting. That would be an interesting twist. I'm here for it. His viewership shrunk after his move. I know. It sucks. It sucks. Especially since I think they're like 9 or 11 hours ahead of us. So it's already Friday there. I mean, in Super Sentai, they are not afraid to kill people and show blood. They're really not. They're not. Plus, the villains are really trying to kill the Rangers. They are, and they dance. They have cool dance sequences and music. All the openings and endings for the most part. Not every show, but most of them have really cool dances. Maybe they should have done a 2-part pilot. It was too fast paced for my taste. I hope they'll fix that with a lot of flashbacks. I want to see more of Nikki's training and her life in China. Yeah, I think because they were only given a 60-minute run, it really hurt because it was fast paced. But at least they were able to tie in everything, as far as I'm concerned, fluidly. So like everything flowed. So you saw her go to China, you saw her run, you saw her become, go to this monastery and see these women. And you saw, her 3 years later, the progress she made, her having the talk about coming home, then the whole attack with the sensei, then having to come home and deal with all the crap that you left behind. All of those things, even the ex-boyfriend was tied in. And they also were able to introduce a new character, Henry, and of course the villain and all that. So all the Triad stuff going on. So, I mean, all of it got a place. And if I'm going to go by rushed, material, this is probably one of the better rushed series of pilots that I've seen. So I'm extremely happy with how they pulled that off. So I like it. I found your channel because no one else on YouTube knows about Quanin. I mean, and all of them are weird. Like, Quanin's my favorite Marvel female character. And then Shiva is my favorite DC. I have a pattern. I'm sure you saw it. Yeah, someone asked him what he thought of John being with a guy, and Miles pulled out a whole list of male characters John could be compatible with. Wow. Okay, you go. Although I love that when they spoke to Mandarin, I think, no offense, that in the States you're not exposed very much to foreign languages and TV shows, and it's sad. It's true. Well, it depends on your streaming service. We watch a lot of Korean dramas, a lot of Asian dramas in general. So we do, like, a lot of people don't realize the differences between Mandarin and Cantonese, and Xiaoming and all those. And then, even the different dialects I learned, because I'm learning Korean from my spouse. And so there are different dialects, in Korea. Like, people pronounce things in certain parts of Korea that aren't pronounced the same way in other parts of Korea. A lot of people cut off syllables because they don't want to use it, or maybe they're being lazy. And then others are like very, it depends on where you are. In Japan, they're notorious for having different, depending on the prefecture you're in, different accents, different, ways of saying things. Some are formal, some are non-formal. So yeah, you do get to see all of that. Which is interesting. I used to watch Elementary with Lucy Liu, and I love how she would speak Chinese with someone sometimes in like specific circumstances. And they'd say something. She's like, I don't really understand her, because even though we both speak Chinese, she's speaking dialect that's a little bit different from me. So I'm like, that makes so much sense. My mother, being Scottish, she's from the Highlands. She was from Kincardshire, so from Aberdeen. So I kind of feel like people don't get that if you come from like Glasgow or other parts of Scotland, sometimes you have different ways of speaking and different words are used. Same as in England, you have Cockney, you have posh, you have all, there's so many different styles. So it's very cool. And I love that this show kind of shows you the different dialects that they use in China, and the different dialects between Chinese Americans and people that are just in China, because that's also a thing. Just like my spouse, even though is Korean American, and River taught in Korea. And there is a definite difference between a Korean American and somebody who was born and raised in Korea, and how they speak Korean and how they act and how they interact is completely different. So yeah, I love it. I love cultures, and learning about cultures in general. So I have no problems with that. So yeah, yeah. So pretty cool. I love that they were able to use in corporate Chinese. I hope they do that more. The one scene though in that I thought was interesting is when her and her Sifu were talking, and they were speaking in Chinese, and then all of a sudden the Sifu just started speaking English, and I'm like, why? I'm like, just keep going. It reminds me of like there's a show. What was it? It was a Transformers movie with what's his name? The New Kids on the Block. No, it was Mark Wahlberg. I think it was Mark Wahlberg. There's a scene where they show like a Chinese reactor. And I actually emailed CinemaSins this, and they put it in their video. So if you ever watch this, it's in their video. And like the guys are like running out, and everybody's screaming and talking in Chinese. And then this guy like just starts speaking English, saying, "We have to get out of here." And I'm like, who is he talking to? I'm like, everybody around you speaks Chinese. Nobody's speaking English. I'm like, Why? 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 I'm like, made zero sense. And they literally put that in the Cinema Sins. They used my other one for the Ninja Turtle movie too, with the Bluetooth on the camera that should not have existed back in the 90s, but that's fine. I'll second you on the emotion respect on your comics knowledge. Aw, thank you. You know, when you're a military brat and you were living on bases and you didn't have access to friends, comics are your friend. Comics, cartoons, and everything nerdy. Thank you. I have perspectives. I don't know how great they are, but I try. I inspire you to be more woke. You should be awake. Being awake is fun. It's not fun sleeping all the time. Well, I guess probably if you don't sleep a lot, it is. But being woke is fine. It's good to accept people for who and what they are, and not just spend time coming up with little ignorant names like Wokemon because you have problems like accepting things. Also, Elementary doesn't queer bait its audience. Yeah, it's true. No, they Sherlock and Home baited us for a while. They even ended that show thinking, are they gonna have sex? I'm so confused. But I really did enjoy Elementary. That was a really good series. But I'm a Sherlock Holmes fan, so yeah. So we have about 5 minutes left, and then we're at a 2-hour mark. Guys, I can't keep you more than 2 hours on a stream. I try to do a lot earlier, but we get in our feelings and we talk in this channel, and it's fine. It's fine. Let's see. Maria, you inspire me more to be more geeky than I am. It's because I might be older than you. I am in my 40s. I've had a lot of time to be nerdy and geeky. And I've forgotten stuff. You'll see me. I'm like, oh, because that's what age does. Age makes you forget things. So yeah, I'm sorry. But age is beautiful. Don't stop aging. Being awake is something we should never apologize for. I know. I don't understand why we have to. But again, we live in a world, and I get it. As a human being, you feel like you should be able to make your own choices about stuff and not be force-fed or spoon-fed an agenda. But I don't understand how you can see not being racist, not being, homophobic, transphobic, being a good person, not hating Asians because your stupid president told people that COVID came from China, not going out and killing unarmed Black men and women on the streets that are just minding their own business, living their best life because you're a racist piece of crap. Those are things that you should be okay with, not things that you should be upset that people talk about. So yeah, what ifs. What ifs. Do you think you'll do a video about racism in the CW? There was a lot of talk about the treatment of Iris' actress, and then a few weeks ago I saw a video about the way Kat Graham was abused on TVD. I didn't know she was abused on Vampire Diaries, so that's interesting. What's interesting about Kat is a lot of people don't realize that she's biracial like me. Her mother's white, her father's Black, like mine. I did not know that she had faced those issues, but I could see them being very problematic on that, because Vampire Diaries was in some of the earlier days of CW. I think after Warner Brothers or WB, when it became CW, I think they were in that tail split after Smallville. And I think Arrow also was one of the earlier shows. So I could see that. I really could see that having a lot of problems, having a lot of problems on their sets. Because nobody was talking about that stuff. I have kind of addressed a little bit of the racism on Candace Patton in my kind of question with the whole should Danielle Panabaker be canceled, the whole Caitlyn thing. I don't think I said canceled. I just want to know if she was racist. I did a video about it. More than likely in the future I am. We have actually talked about Candace Patton a lot, and how a lot of her castmates in the beginning did not show up for her when she was getting all that crap. And now with BLM, when it started, a lot of people were starting to, and I'm like, that's bullshit. So I am in my feelings about that. Don't be supportive later when you had the opportunity in the beginning, when the person was actually suffering, to make a difference. It's the same thing with Raya's voice actress. When she was on Star Wars, she was treated like crap, like absolute crap, and bullied so much she had to cancel all of her social media accounts. And now look at her. She's doing great. But for a long time, she didn't even want to act anymore. So, I mean, people don't realize, just because these people are in the spotlight and limelight, that they're not human beings. They have feelings. So it's bullcrap. So maybe I will. I am doing a biracial documentary, so that's going to be coming soon. I am 31, turning 32 this year. Happy birthday. What month were you born in, Kevin? Was it by Troy CTV? I have to admit, I was horrified by how dirty they did Kat. She was treated better overseas than in her own country. Yeah, I did not realize that. I'll have to go look at that. I did not realize that was a thing. I meant to write 41, not 31. Oh, so you're almost 40. Okay, I was 42. Okay, you in the 40s club. You in the 40s club. We can't see. Yeah, it was shocking. The video almost made me cry. Wow. Okay, I'll have to go back and look at that. I actually want to see a discussion on forced diversity. I see the term so much nowadays. I mean, in some contexts, I can see it happening, but in most cases, it's just a buzzword. Yeah, I would like to see that. There's, like I said, there are a lot of things. And one thing I will always say, I play devil's advocate. There are extremists on every side of every, literally every conversation that you have. Just because you think you're in the right doesn't mean you can take it to like extreme measures. Every organization, there are Black Lives Matters groups that are extremists, and then they don't represent the movement, and they just go completely off the chain. I understand the anger and the passion, but they just go outside the box of cray. So like, you're going to see that in every conversation. In the LGBT community, there are people within the LGBT community that are transphobic, that are biphobic, that are horrible with each other. So that's in every group. It is in every, conversation. It's every struggle. It's just what it is. People take it to another level that it does not need to go. And unfortunately, we're always going to do that. And the sad reality is those extremist people are what people see and react to. They don't react to the people that are peaceful. They're just having a conversation. They don't take that into account. No, they look at the extremists and say, here, this is why we don't like Black Lives Matter, or this is why we don't deal with the LGBT community. This is why we don't deal. That's what it is. That is what it's always been. And that is sad. That is very, very sad. September. Oh, you're a September baby like my daughter. She's September 14th. So she will be 25 in September. Cray, huh? Remember, Chris Rock said it doesn't pay to, any kind of prejudice because the people you're against will end up your family members. I mean, that's really true. That is very true. Ian Somerhalder quit the show in solidarity with her. The actors that play Alaric and Matt were really racist. The producers too. Huh? Isn't he on the spinoff? What? Alaric? What? Alaric was racist? Oh, no, we might have to spank him. I need to see what his response is to this video then. If this is new, that's crazy. The only people who complain about forced diversity are those who want forced homogeneity. Oh, David, you are making some truths today. You are making some truths today. Oh, yeah. Troy CTV, I'll have to check that out. David, you're making some. You're saying some truths. People not ready for that. I'm like, people not ready. Yeah, people are mad that they wanted to make Superman's grandpa black in Krypton. Because somehow being an alien means you have a European, descendant. I don't know why the descent is European. But if you don't have green skin or Martian, then obviously you're supposed to be white. Because comic books have taught us that. And that is another problematic problem. The hate that Rage was getting was disgusting. See, I mean, I don't know. I think I'm really in my feelings. I'm not saying that girl can't stand up for herself. I'd be fighting every day. They would know about Black Lives Matter before BLM. I'd be like, did you just say that to me? I'm like, nah. When I punched you upside your head. I'm like, yeah, I would have lost my job, but I would have gone down swinging. Nope. I do not encourage violence. All right. Overall talks, guys. We're 3 minutes over. So our overall chats, because I love chatting with you guys. And please put comments below, because you know that this top chat will go away. I need you to know that this show is awesome. Spread it to all of your friends. Let them know what you like. Like I said, is it perfect? Nothing is perfect, especially on the CW, but it's pretty freaking close. I love the actors. I love the costumes. I love the fight scenes. I love the family dynamic. I love the siblings actually act like siblings, they act more like siblings than the charm ones do. I love the fact that we've got this supernatural spin and this like whole fantasy, special magical swords storyline going on. I don't say I love it, but I know we're going to get a little pretty much romantic rivalry between the old boyfriend and the potential new boyfriend. I also like the fact that we're probably going to learn a lot more about, that's what I took, the Sifu's past, because she did imply that she was a different person before she took over that monastery. So lots to look forward to. All Asian class. I mean, we only had one token white guy. Like, I never thought I'd say that ever in my life. We had a token white guy, but everybody was Asian. Kung Fu is awesome. It is awesome. It is awesome. I'm gonna let you guys go, and remember, tomorrow I will be having my friend Jordan with me from Power Rangers Unworthy, and we're going to be talking about Godzilla versus Kong. God help us. Like, I love the movie. Heads up, disclaimer, no hate on the movie, but we're gonna have fun. So it's gonna be fun. So have a good night, guys. Love you, and I'll talk to you